Hello friends, my name is Doug. Welcome to Third Stall Garage. This is the channel about the restoration of a 66 convertible Beetle named Hendrick. Dale and I are working on it. That's Dale over there. Say hi, Dale. And this week we are continuing the work on the luggage tray. Last episode was part 1. This will be part 2 of us working on that. Stay tuned and watch how it goes. If you want a bit of a detailed step-by-step as to how we went about replacing or repairing this part of the luggage tray, I'd encourage you to watch the last episode, which I think is episode 13, part 1. This will be episode 14, part 2 of the luggage tray repairs. And I'm really happy with the way this came out. It's not perfect by any means. You can tell that it's repaired, but it did keep kind of the stock channels for strength, carried them through into the patch a little bit, kept the bump for the heater channel, and we hope to do that on this side as well. One of the things we learned is on this side we have a lot of pinhole in here, and so originally we thought about just cutting it off here along this line, but we'd like to replace this section too. And we learned on this repair that a joint right on kind of this ridge is an easy joint to blend in. So we're gonna cut both the patch and the luggage tray right about here. So we will cut this out across the back, across the side here, and then remove this piece. That will hopefully help us be able to remove all of these repair panels, and then we'll get ready to install this. So not going to go into as much detail this week, partly because we are limited on time and need to keep things moving, and partly because you saw a lot of the detail last week. So we'll give you a few updates along the way, but we're going to dive into it. Thanks for following along. If you have any comments, suggestions, feel free to post them below or subscribe to the channel or give it a thumbs up. Thank you very much. What you working on, Dale?
Well, getting it all to fit right.
How's it going?
You know, really good. I'm close.
Tell me a little more about what you're doing.
Oh, you're filming me. So, I can't hear myself. So, we got this little tiny piece. And again, as long as we're here, it used to have a lot of silicone in there, and that's not very useful. So, trying to get, a little piece to fit in there, little patch. You gotta shave it all down so you can weld it in. We can make it look like brand new. And we'll have this little bit down here. We don't really want to cut into the parent material, and I believe you can weld in here. That's not too thick. So we can get that guy all sealed up with weld instead of caulk or just hanging in the breeze.
Nice. That'll look better.
Do I gotta be quiet?
No, you can talk if you want.
Well, no, I'm gonna grind here.
Yeah, please be quiet.
Okay.
Man, it's hard to get good help nowadays. All right, so this patch is getting closer. I did get all of this patch off of here. I used my air chisel, pneumatic chisel, and that actually worked really sweet. And then just used a flap disc to smooth that down. It's not perfect, but it will be covered up by that. This has been a bit of a bear. It's close, but it's not wanting to be perfect. This gap here, the bend is good. I think if I clean it up a little bit, I think I can get this to blend in well. Sorry, I was looking at the actual car, not the camera. Where this is fairly flat and that radius smooths in. I've got a reasonable, oh, I'm falling over. reasonable gap in the back here. This piece will slide just a touch that way. That gap will close up. I think what I'm thinking is if I spot weld this or tack weld this fairly strongly first, get this to lay the way I want it to, then I will take this and kind of pound it in with a chisel just to kind of pull it that way and get this flange to lie flat. Put a couple sheet metal screws in to hold it in place once I get it there. Then a part that's been challenging is I got a big gap down here. You can see I can slip my finger in. Yeah, if Dale holds that back there, this will sit down like such, which is pretty good right here. It does not give me much overlap for a plug weld, but we can make that happen. And then no matter what I do, I've got about a 3/8 of an inch gap here that slowly disappears as I get up around the corner here, and then is pretty good there. So again, I've been reforming lots of parts of this sheet already, and I think I will do this stretch of it last and then work on metal forming that to get it to lay against there and then weld it in. That's my plan. It's just a plan. The goal is to not have to buy another patch. So, keep you updated. Making progress. So you can probably see that I've got tack welds in. What I did not show on camera is I probably had an hour and a half of sitting here, grinding off a little bit more, sitting here, taking channel locks and tweaking the end of this to make this curve a little steeper, to make this part a little shallower, to tweak this bend to match there. Then this wing had to be adjusted to go higher, and then it drops down. And that only happens, you either, what do you say? You can't hurry, if you hurry a miracle.
You can't rush a miracle. You get bad miracles.
You get bad miracles. So
Miracle Max.
you just got to take your time if you want it to end up close to right. So what I ended up doing was deciding I'm going to match this line up as best I could, tack weld it in place, and then I'm going to work my way around these. Now you can see I've got a massive gap in the bottom, but what we've determined is I can push down here and get that plug weld, but if Dale pushes over on that corner, this plug weld moves. And so if Dale pushes there, we get really close to all of where we need along here. So I'm gonna have Dale, let's scoot you to the left, just Dale will hold that down, then I'm gonna push down and I'm gonna do this plug weld by my thumb next. Then second, I'm going to do a couple plug welds here by pushing against that, and that will pretty much lock my piece in. Maybe last thing I'm going to do, sorry, I have crap all over the place. I'm going to put my straight edge on, and then I can push that edge down by Dale's thumb up or down to make sure my luggage tray is flat. And overall, the front of it's pretty flat. The back of it, you can see I've got a little bit of a high spot, so that's got to go down a little bit. That, I think, will get me to a spot where I feel good about the luggage tray. So, time to start putting these plug welds in. We'll show you how it's going when we're done. It is tacked in. So we will pound this edge down, get it to lay better, which won't be hard, it flexes down. But we got this gap mainly pulled in, and that side's gonna lay down pretty good too. So now it's a matter of burning this edge in, remembering I gotta be patient and not get it too hot, because if this gets too hot as the weld cools, Dale, can you hold the camera right on here? As the weld, if this weld gets too hot, as it cools, it will pull it down in. and that'll mess up your joint a little bit. So just be patient and you're welding joints like this, and then we'll go plug weld by plug weld and go all the way around, then we'll clean it up a bit. All right, I'm feeling good about that. For a while I wasn't feeling like it was going to come together very well, but I'll give myself a thumbs up on that. And the welding is done. Plug welds on the side, seam weld there, and I'll show you these because I like how these came out. These look kind of pretty. And maybe I'll just quick skim over a couple of them in the back. And then plug welds look pretty nice too. Dale will grind them and top them off a little bit, but we've got a patch that is in and feels really good. Next week we'll work on making that piece and forming it just like we did that one. And then luggage tray will pretty much be wrapped up for us, which is fantastic. Eventually the body is coming off of the pan, and at that point we'll probably just clean up the welds on the underside. I know there's a couple spots where I had a couple wire porcupine needles stick through, and we can clean that up later. All right, on to that patch. Making progress on the left-hand side, passenger side of the rear luggage tray. So we welded this in last week. Did I say it right?
If you're facing the back of the car, yeah. If you're facing the front of the car, the right-hand side. The passenger
right-hand side.
Right
Passenger
side. If you're in
this is what happens when you work with friends who are a pain in the arse. So this side, not that side, this side, we welded this in last week, and Dale just finished grinding it up. And again, it is not perfect, but really happy with the way that looks. Our paint guy will probably give us some advice about whether he skim coats it with some Bondo and gives it a light sand or not, but either way that's going to look pretty good. And this is our final patch for this side. We've got some holes for plug welds, and then that will fit in like such, and we're going to tack weld that in next. There's a gap here that we will need to fill with welds, so we're probably going to put a copper backing plate behind those couple holes. We'll weld that shut and grind it smooth. We also tonight welded the bottom of this, so you can see that this upper pan here is now attached solidly to the heater channel, as opposed to a great big gap there. So making progress. Hopefully by the end of the night, this is at least tack welded in, if not further. And we're so close to getting this part of the car done, which is gonna look great. So we'll show you when she's done. We are 95% are happy with that all the way along here, along here, along here, and down to about there. This might need a little adjusting, so we're going to tack weld this in and then push this down to get it to be flush, and hopefully those tack welds will hold. And then we'll finish along here. So we got a couple of magnets I'm going to use just to kind of hold things close. We're going to start tack welding it in. So we did get this piece to lay fairly nicely and blend it in. I like how it fits the stock grooves here. I think we'll put a skim coat of Bondo on there to cover up the low spot of the weld, but overall coat of paint on that, and it's gonna look pretty nice. It's, you know, it's not perfect, but all of those gaps did lay down quite nicely, and particularly knowing it's going to be underneath carpet and you're not going to see it, we will feel good about it and feel like it's good solid repair. So that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks for following along. We need to figure out what's next. We are wrapped up with a lot of these patches, the whole luggage tray, patches on the side here. I think that we may move next to tackling some of our quarter panel problems where there's huge low spots on our sides, and not all of these patches were done in the nicest way possible. So thanks for being part of Third Style Garage. Thanks for following along. Have a great day. Find somebody and be nice to them today.